Tell us, what do you make of this case of this 12-year-old boy that's been missing and who was also described as WA's most vulnerable by a magistrate?
All children that go missing are vulnerable, whether they're black or white, whether they're brown. At that age, you're very vulnerable, being on your own transient, not knowing who you're depending on and what your next circumstance on the next day will be. But he's a very vulnerable child in the care of the state. He's not the first child to go missing. There have been 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11-year-olds who have gone missing, and many of them who lived for a long while homeless on the streets. So it's a predicament that occurs far too often. Fortunately, what's actually happened on this occasion, from the media release, the media alert, there's been traction in the media about this boy, and there needs to be more traction in the media about this boy. We need to understand that it's a wider systemic crisis, and a lot of children that go into the care of the state aren't adequately supported and are less supported than what they were in the circumstances that they were living in before they were taken into the care of the state. So the care of the state is a systemic problem. Our state child protection authorities, Department of Communities, have become problematic in removing children on a basis of low threshold, where they haven't done or aren't getting the support in the eyes of the department, but we're getting more support than the department can actually give them. So it shouldn't be happening. What we should have is children supported to the fullest of the obligations that one has as a carer. The carer, who's the state, becomes the parent legally. So they should be held to account as to why they had substandard care for this child, why this child feels so ill at ease and anxious and had to leave without notifying anybody. And it should be also recognised that it's a wider systemic issue, that it happens far too often. I always remember an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, two sisters that fled child protection from Geraldton, finished up on the streets of Perth, homeless, and spent years on the streets, off and on. And at 17 years of age, while living on the streets, one of these girls took her life. And the other one, who's a year older, I've supported her ever since. She's now 27 years of age and doing reasonably well. And we have to really hold child protection to account. They're unaccountable, not transparent, and they need to be brought to account. And if I had my way, I'd abolish child protection. We have record numbers of children removed, more than ever before. It's getting worse, it's not getting better. Families can't be that demonised that their children are taken away. I'll give you a startling statistic, brother. In Western Australia, children of the First Peoples, of those who have been removed to the care of the state, only 1 in 12 be reunited with their biological parents before the age of 18. Only 1 in 12. That says 11 out of 12 are not reunited with their parents. That's an abominable, reprehensible statistic that should be known far and wide, and demands that this child protection beast monolith is brought to account. But to let you know how worse it is in other parts of the country, 89% of children removed in the Northern Territory are descendants of the First Peoples. In New South Wales, that statistic that I gave you of 1 in 12 will be reunited by the age of 18 with their biological parents. Believe it or not, it's 1 in 40 in New South Wales. 1 in 40. And yet we don't have a Royal Commission on Child Protection. We've got legal actions showing lawyers at the moment with the class action for those children removed, or when they were children that were removed. What we need is systemic repair, but that will come best if we abolish child protection and build up family services and social support networks and psychosocial support and outreach, and help many. The majority don't need to be removed. That's my experience. I've been on 200 safety plans in WA. I've seen it all, and I have a near 100% reunification record. And that's because I'm an impartial, independent advocate and support. My aim is the best interest of the child. And if I can get them to be with their parents and support the parents, that's the best outcome.
And ultimately, who do you think is liable?
Responsibility lies with the Department of Child Protection, the state. So the state is the carer. They've taken over the parenting of the child. Legally, the director of Department of Communities is the actual, or the CEO of the Department of Communities is the person, as in the day of A.O. Neville, who is the responsible guardian for these children. All responsibility then therefore has been abrogated from the parents who these children are taken away from, and this child, 12-year-old that we're talking about here today, and all responsibility and all culpability, all liability lies with the Department of Communities, who house child protection as one of their mandates, and it's specifically the CEO of the Department of Communities who's responsible.
tell me one thing. So let's see, the child is in state care. If they are an individual, they get charged for child neglect. Don't you think charges should be laid from someone who is responsible and individual, because it must be a case officer assigned or something like that?
We have to lead by example, and one rule for all, and universality. Of course they've got to be held accountable. But the mere fact they're not being held accountable is allowing them to get away with practices that other people are being held accountable. If charges were to be laid for these same actions, whatever they are, neglect, poor parenting, deprivation, and they're holding individuals in ordinary citizenry, such as parents, accountable, and they get charged for all that sort of stuff, so too should the state. They should be held accountable and charged if there's grounds for those charges.